many people actually many people actually want to join and listen to you because of the attractiveness of the topic and also your expertise, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you all like the topic. I'll be hopefully I'll be able to
I
share
think
my
uh,
experience and
the
understanding about
audience will
this.
also, yes, the audience will also enjoy, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
looking forward to it.
mm, just give me 3 minutes more and then we will begin, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Dear audience, today we have an, an expert, Dr. Pranab Patar. He is an environmental professional and a winning award winning specialist, particularly in the areas of water resources conservation and management, biological diversity, climate change and action. Currently, he is associated with a foundation which is an American foundation working in India. It is Global Foundation for Advancement of Environment and Human Wellness. So he is the CEO and the executive director at this foundation based in New Delhi. Other than this, he has been in the past and presently the member and actively involved in various global platforms such as IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas, Climate Reality Leadership Corp, um, IPBES, which is a very well-known global platform created almost 2 decades ago. Um, Other societies like International Council for Circular Economy. So he used to be a trainer and he has trained large volume of teachers, students, professionals, and other people. So he has already uh, represented his foundation and his other institutions at the global platforms like OECD, um, Smart Cities Forums, IPBES, World Water Summit, Global Sustainable Development Summit, and in one very notable institution is Goethe Institute, which is in Germany, I guess. So he has received a number of awards. So you can read his information on this web page of this particular lecture, and also you can also search his name in the Google. Then you can find information more information. Lastly, on this web page of this particular lecture, you can find his email also, email and other details. So you can just connect with him later on. So thank you so much, Dr. Pranab. You have given us time, and today I believe that our audience coming from different parts of the world, they will benefit from your experience and your knowledge on this very pertinent subject. So now the forum is to you. In your hands, please come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hasrat. It is indeed a pleasure and honor to be speaking on this August platform today. Global Lectures has been offering and bringing together experts from all around the world to get their perspective on relevant issues on environment. So I consider myself very fortunate to be able to share my perspective on blue and green spaces today. Thanks to you and the Grassroots Institute for this kind gesture, and to all our audience, namaste from India. I look forward to sharing my thoughts on this issue today, and also looking forward to have an interaction and also learn from your varied expertise from all around the world. So I'll be using a presentation. So let me quickly share the presentation for you. I understand the session is for about an hour or so. I have a slightly large number of slides, but however, I may, in the interest of time, I may not be referring to all the slides, depending on the need. So, as Dr. Hasrat has kindly introduced, I represent an organization based in Delhi, and we essentially work on wide-ranging environmental issues. And urban blue and green spaces happens to be one of them. So I'm here to share my thoughts on this and highlight how this particular issue is becoming so relevant, especially at a time when the world is going through a change, environmental change globally. And that is, this change is evident in every aspect of our life. It is making some positive and many negative impacts as we are dealing with life today. So this particular change is obviously a little unwanted change, although as human beings, we are all fond of change. You know, as they say in life, change should be the only constant. But there are certain changes that we do not appreciate, do not really enjoy. And this difficult environmental change the world is witnessing today is certainly one of them, which is not welcome. And the results are evident. Results are evident all across, all around us, at the local level, at the grassroots level, where we live and work. So referring to these local changes, I would like to present a few pictures for you to have a look at. And these pictures are essentially mostly from India. And some of them would be, though from India, would be relatable to you. For example, floods and cyclonic events, crop failure, forest fire, pollution, diseases, droughts, mismanagement of our solid waste, so on and so forth. These are very much evident, very much issues that we see and experience on a daily basis in our lives, in our places where we live and work, in our cities, in our towns, in our villages. So these chains indicate to what? These chains indicate to the change that I'm referring to, that these changes are not good. These changes are not really helping our environment today. It's not helping our survival today. For example, if you look at this particular slide, we're referring to how water quality and availability are degrading over a period of time. This is a few, sorry. These are a few examples from India. There are about 30 cities this particular slide is referring to. And these 30 cities are increasingly experiencing water unavailability or some form of crisis related to water. And if we are to go by the statistics, and things are going to be even difficult in the coming years, in immediate future. And why are these things are happening? Why are these changes happening? This is something we all must wonder. Similarly, the cities are increasingly experiencing warming issues, which is very well known as urban heat island effect. So the cities are increasingly become warm. So for example, in the city of New York, they said in the peak of summer, the city's average temperature is about 4 degrees Celsius higher than the surrounding areas, the areas, the countrysides and the areas with forests and farms and green areas. So this is increasingly evident that, there's something wrong with our environment today, and especially around places where we have more concrete, where we have more buildings and man-made infrastructure. Similarly, this is an example from the southern Indian city of Bangalore. There also, both during the nighttime as well as daytime, the average temperature is reported to be increasing. And whereas that is not the case in the non-urban areas, it's areas where we have more greeneries around, we have the forests around. So obviously, it is indicating that, there's something amiss in the places where we work, where we live, especially in the urban areas. So why should we be bothered? And especially when I say something amiss, obviously I'm referring to the degrading and disappearing, degrading quality, as well as disappearing blue and green spaces in our urban areas. Especially if I'm from India, and I've mostly worked in Indian, across Indian subcontinent, and I can tell you from my experience that, most cities that I go to, I visit. So this is becoming very evident now, that, especially water bodies, it's a sorry state of affairs. The water bodies, ponds, lakes are drying, disappearing, encroached by various kinds of activities. Especially a lot of places that I go to, I see at least one pond which has been converted into a dump yard, which is really, really unfortunate. And result is evident. Like I said, uh, these precious ecosystems, which I strongly believe and I keep referring to as these are micro representative or small representative of biodiversity hotspot. These many times we do not really necessarily look at the ecological importance of uh, uh, these ponds or microforest areas in our cities, in our towns, or the city parks. But they are important ecosystems. They are as good as a small biodiversity hotspot. They cater to and they offer refuge and food to n number of species, from smaller insects to birds to mammals. And these species are disappearing. So obviously, with that, we are also losing out on important ecosystem services provided by these uh, important these places. So they don't just serve as a source of clean air or water, but they also, like I said, provide refuge to a number of species, oxygen for our survival. They fix carbon dioxide, and which is very, very important, especially in today's environmental conditions. To be able to capture carbon is very important. So these green and blue spaces are able to do that, but they're disappearing. The the, the they're losing day in and day out because of a number of factors, both natural and man-made. And if we look at the larger picture, these blue and green spaces or the infrastructure, both natural as well as created by humans, like for example, city parks or a pond. These are man-made structures, but they provide a number of services to and as they are disappearing, so we are becoming more vulnerable because we are losing the ability to protect our biodiversity. They with water bodies going, we are losing our water resources. With that, shading, shelter, and cooling is also disappearing. Like for example, we in a amid our busy life, we want to take a walk, we want to take a break, we prefer to go a nearby green area or sit by the lake. But if that these places are not there, so obviously we are losing out on that important aspect of life, and and another aspect is they also provide aesthetic value, and which is important for humans to be able to see something beautiful, enjoy the clean air and environment is very important for our well-being. So that is also gradually disappearing, so decreasing. And if we lose that, so obviously we are going to compromise a whole lot of things on environment. Like for example, forest and wetland ecosystems house carbon stocks that I mentioned, but they estimate approximately store about 450 to 650 gigatons of carbon. Uh, so that's a huge number, and especially when we often we refer to the impact of climate change. So to be able to store carbon is very important. To be able to uh, uh, prevent the carbons getting released into the atmosphere is very important for our long-term sustainability. Uh, so now let's look at a regional perspective about how Asian cities are facing this problem. Uh, all these important cities from Hong Kong, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Seoul, Shanghai to Ho Chi Minh, etc. And this percentage of green cover is declining day by day. And as you see, the more growth we have, so-called typical developmental growth, infrastructure, buildings, we tend to lose more green cover. So that is also being experienced in Indian cities. Like from this slide, you can see from Ahmedabad, Bhopal, Hyderabad. It has given both historical perspective as well as futuristic projection about how this is going to be in the coming years. Like for example, if you look at Bhopal, so the current the green cover, blue spaces, as well as the growth and the urban growth. You can see what's happening now in 2022, and there's a projection about how this is going to be in 2030. It's in next 8 years time, by the time, which also happens to be the target for the sustainable development goals. And unfortunately, in some of these places, as we see more growth uh, in the urban front, we are losing our green spaces. So obviously, that's a difficult scenario. And same is the case with other cities like Bangalore, the Greater Mumbai, which has Bangalore has recorded highest number of growth, and at the same time, it has also been losing from, like for example, from 1973 to 2013, it has lost a significant number of water bodies from 3.4% to it has now in 2013 it was recorded as just about 0.65. So that is the area of blue spaces. Uh, so things are obviously difficult. So what can we do about it? So now let's look at what can be done. Is it really a very serious situation, or do we also see some hope here? uh, I want to take it as a positive opportunity. Uh, I would like to cite this very popular quote and something that I keep referring to in almost all my lectures, that you never let a serious crisis go to waste. And this was said by Ram Emanuel, who's a very well-known American politician and diplomat. And he said that that it is an opportunity to do things differently in the crisis time. And this is something we have experienced big time during the COVID. Uh, COVID has world over has taught us many things, and it has taught us to be resilient. It has taught us to look at the sunny side, look at the positive aspect. Like, for example, it has given us ample amount of lessons why these green spaces are important. And especially if you recall the lockdown time when almost all of the world was put under lockdown to prevent the contamination of COVID-19, we wanted to, we were desperately looking for some kind of break to be able to go out, you know, at least, for some fresh air. And these green spaces in our neighborhood, the parks and the water bodies, wetlands, and they provided all that much needed break and, and a sense of refreshment. And while environmentally we have been realizing the importance of these water bodies, but COVID has brought that lesson to the people at large, people to the masses. The masses also started realizing, oh, no, these spaces are very, very important for our health and well-being. So that is leading to a more positive action. It is uh, encouraging people to take collective actions in a multi-pronged approach. Like, while we are talking about building resilience, because resilience, I feel, is very important. When we, like, for example, when I am uh, eating the right kind of food, doing my exercise on a regular basis, so I tend to be stay fit. And obviously, if I am fit, so I'm able to take on any stress, including illness. So that is very important. So these collective actions are not just engaging people, but they are also helping us build our resilience, understand better, and acquire more knowledge about these issues. And also, as a result, we are working towards reducing the threats of environment. So it is giving us a holistic approach, of wide-ranging things are being presented in front of us, why and how we should be saving these blue and green spaces. Uh, so, and if we are able to do that, we are obviously, you know, equipping ourselves to fight back against these unwanted environmental change. So, referring to climate change, of course, that has been the biggest issue of late. So we are referring to a particular resilience that is required to fight off impact of climate change, both through mitigation and adaptation. And between all that, there's something which has come in front of us as something very important and something that fulfills both mitigation requirement as well as adaptation. If you see the red portion right in the middle of this slide, you will see on the top it's referring to water conservation, and down below it's referring to urban forest. So, and these two entities together fulfill the requirement of mitigation as well as adaptation to build our resilience against not just climate change, but any environmental unwanted and unhealthy environmental change. And we are able to, look at solutions which are based on nature. Like, for example, this particular definition given by the European Commission, that living solutions inspired and supported by nature that simultaneously provide environmental, social, and economic benefits and help to build resilience. So this is important. And from all the experience, difficult phases and learnings, we have now come to a point to realize that nature has all the solutions to fight off these unwanted environmental change and build our resilience. And as a result, all across institutions, agencies, governments, and policymakers now looking at nature, looking for solutions which can provide environmental, social, and economic benefits, thereby fulfilling the needs of sustainable development goals, that we are able to contribute to these goals in a more constructive way, in a more sustainable way. And as we're approaching really fast towards Agenda 2030, which is just about 7 to 8 years from now, so these nature-based solutions are providing a lot of solutions. And it has also, like I mentioned, it has also taught how to recover from crisis like COVID-19. So it's a proven and adapted solution, accepted solution, well accepted by, like I said, wide-ranging stakeholders around the world, because they have and through multiple deliberations internationally, whether it is Marseille deliberations in Marseille during the IUCN Congress, or even the recently concluded the COP27 in Egypt. So every other deliberations and conventions and international conferences are highlighting the importance of nature-based solutions because of a number of reasons. Because one, of course, they're easily available, they're easy to adapt, easy to maintain, easy to manage, it is easy to recreate also. And it is, most importantly, it is cost effective. And it is not something that requires us to create something entirely artificial. This is completely given by nature. Like, for example, it is increasingly being adopted into town planning now. Like whether it is Toronto or Montreal in Canada, Dresden or Chicago or China's. So they are increasingly looking nature-based solutions to integrate into our conventional town planning. So as it helps increase our tree cover, like I said, it increase our green spaces in community gardens in our areas. And most importantly, permeable surface. Most of the urban water crisis today is also a result of imperviousness, because we are losing our permeable spaces surface all over the place. In the name of development, we are concretizing our surfaces. Yeah, our parks are getting concretized, our playgrounds are getting concretized, our roads are concretized, pavements are concretized. So everywhere, because of the concretization, our soil is losing its ability to absorb water and recharge its aquifers. So now, because of the integration of nature-based solutions in town planting, the things are getting reversed. Things are across the world. People are now looking at positive solutions. How to, like for example, green roofing is becoming very, very popular, and it's recommended by European Commission big time, and it is able to provide better water management, reduce urban heat island effect, something that I have already discussed, increase energy efficiency. That is also another very, very important aspect, because if we are able to increase our energy efficiency, obviously we can bring down our dependency on conventional energy sources, and that's critical to bring down the emission as a result. So reduce effects of severe storms. So all that is being now addressed to a simple mechanism like green roofing. And unfortunately, this part of the world, we have not seen much progress around green roofing, but I'm sure sooner or later we will also adapt to green roofing. But thankfully, these days in urban areas, especially in India, we see a lot of people growing vegetables and maintaining some amount of what we call, terrace garden. So, which is in a way kind of green roofing only. So, and that's a very, very positive change. And especially during COVID also, when people didn't have any place to go, didn't have things to do, offices were closed, they started adopting new hobbies, and terrace gardening happened to be one of them. And that I hope will stay with us, and would be able to throw more positive uh, things to our lives. So all these nature-based solutions are helping build resilience, maintaining and restoring biodiversity in the forest, as well as in the forest outside the conventional forest in the urban areas. Uh, like it says, the planted and semi-natural forest. Primary forests are generally more resilient, but these planted forests are also equally good. It is like something is better than nothing, and if properly done and maintained, then city forests can and harbor a good number of species diversity of flora as well as fauna. So, which is representative. Uh, sorry, of our biodiversity. So which is important, and I keep saying, if we look at the cumulative ecological value of these smaller forests and green spaces surrounded in our cities, there'll be a lot of uh, ecological value and the species diversity that we'll be able to see and experience and witness. And normally, when we talk about biodiversity, our immediate reference go to a proper forest, a natural forest, or maybe a national park or a sanctuary. But whereas in the cities, especially in the context of Asia, it is becoming very difficult to have something like that in cities, because cities are increasing, expanding on a regular basis because of population rise, increasing demand for these, you know, large number of people. So having these smaller patches of forest, green covers around, it's a boon, and they are able to offer, as I said, cumulatively more, if not less, more benefit as compared to maybe a small sanctuary. Uh, so we can see the spaces as well as communities becoming resilient towards climate change as well as other environmental challenges. And it is, as a result, providing participatory and integrated processes that bring together stakeholders across sectors, jurisdictions to cultivate shared ownership of resilient building strategies. Uh, and now we can increasingly see people taking interest in protecting these spaces and also restoring our uh, our city forests and these ponds and lakes. And beauty of nature-based solutions that, they work across geographies. They work across landscapes. Like this is a very important slide that I have borrowed from Global Commission on Adaptation. It says, from mountains to rivers to farmlands to cities and to coast, nature-based solutions work everywhere, and it is able to provide uh, positive benefits. Like, for example, hazard prevention. Today we experience a lot of uh, extreme weather events, from floods to cyclones to erratic rainfalls, and sometimes absence of it. So that leads to drought. So these challenges are also getting addressed through nature-based solutions. we are able to prevent uh, the risk of the floods and cyclones and things like that. Similarly, it is helping the farmlands. We are able to grow more. We are able to prevent farmlands from droughts and floods, which is very, very important. That's the source we get our food from. So similarly, if we are able to do that, obviously coasts are considered to be very highly vulnerable. So if we can restore the coastal wetlands, including the highly important mangrove forest, so we can deal with things even like tsunami. And all that is leading us to look at things from a decentralized approach, dealing with our problems. From the slide that where I had shown you the bunch of pictures of floods, droughts, forest fire, and crop failure, this and that. So these are local problems. So if we need to address these problems, obviously we'll have to look for solutions locally. So obviously in a decentralized way, and nature-based solutions happen to offer that opportunity of looking things in a decentralized manner. And it is easy because we are able to protect things wherever they are. We are able to mobilize and engage capable communities to promote conservation and protect them. Because a large forest, a huge wetland elsewhere, hundreds of miles away from my place, my resident, my town, it becomes difficult for me to contribute directly. But if there's something in my neighborhood, there's a pond or a small water body in my neighborhood, I can very well directly contribute towards its protection, and also take care of its and work towards its preservation. So, which is a very important part, an important part to engage people for long-term sustainability. It is, of course, we've time and again experience that how important people's participation and engagement is. So the decentralized approach to conservation is offering that opportunity. And I see in the near future we'll be able to protect more that way, and create that cumulative ecological value. uh, Fortunately, at the international level, at the policy level, there are new mechanisms are being proposed and implemented. For example, OECM, that is becoming very popular now, other effective area-based conservation measure, which is an alternative to our conventional protected area mechanism, which is national parks and sanctuaries. Here, we are able to protect, like I said, wherever these habitats are, wherever these water bodies are. And in even India also, we are increasingly seeing a lot of efforts towards building and recognizing OECM sites. Like, for example, just in last year, Delhi became the first city in India to have its OECM site, which is a restoration site and part of a very important ecosystem called Aravallis, which is right in the border of Delhi and its neighboring town, Gurgaon. Uh, so these international mechanisms are offering that kind of support to create conservation areas wherever they are in a more flexible way, even within the city limits, which is considered as highly populated, or where there's scarcity of spaces to have things like this. But now, because of uh, the positive support from the government agencies, uh, policy makers and decision makers, we are able to see that happening. And I'm sure other part of the world is also uh, going to have similar benefits. So this is another program that I want to highlight as part of non-conventional and decentralized approach to conservation. Now, there has been a lot of emphasis to protect the trees outside forests. So as a result, we can see forest patches outside the conventional so-called conservation areas, national parks and sanctuaries also getting conserved. And not just conserved, also getting planted, created. City forests are being created because uh, we increasingly experience both the negative aspect when they are not there and the positive aspect when the forests are there. So obviously, it's an eye opener for all. It's a good learning for all to revere and appreciate the trees wherever they are, and trees especially which are outside the forest areas. And I'm sure this is going to have ground breaking positive environmental impact in years to come. So I would like to uh, let me look at the time. How much time do I have? It's yes, I think we have some time. Uh, so I would like to now take you through some of the work that we have undertaken in these lines, the actions that we have taken. Uh, So we have been working towards restoration of water bodies, especially ponds and lakes. So this is being done uh, in a combination of both mechanical as well as eco um, technology-based solutions. Like for example, uh, constructed wetland, which is becoming very popular scientifically. It is known as subsurface horizontal flow constructed wetland. So where the artificial wetlands are being created to purify sewage water. Like for example, this is an example from one of the universities in southern part of India. The below pictures, there's the three pictures on the bottom is a site from very close to Delhi, a place called Ghaziabad, which is part of national capital region. So their restorations are being undertaken to uh, bring these important and crucial ecosystems back to life. Uh, so this is our own way of, preserving nature-based and offering nature-based solutions. And coming back to constructed wetland, the first four pictures on the top, these this solutions is proven to be very important to uh, purify sewage water in a most environment friendly way, in a most uh, energy efficient way, because it doesn't require any electricity, any power supply. Where these plants like Canna indica, they work as purifiers. It's a phytoreed based technology, and it has helped us restore our water bodies, because in most of these water bodies that we have been working, they are constantly receiving untreated or some form of domestic sewage from the neighboring areas, and that considers to be the main culprit why these water bodies are dying. So to be able to purify the sewage before they enter into the water body, we are putting together things like constructed wetland, and that is immensely helpful. Uh, and once the restoration is being done, like for example, this, it requires a lot of effort to maintain them. I keep saying sustaining the sustainable development. So it is very important to sustain what is being restored, because it it doesn't take much time for people to, you know, destroy things. We are habituated by nature. We are so habituated in doing things that can have a long-term negative impact on our environment, including, dumping waste uh, without realizing that, we are actually destroying an ecosystem. So to be able to prevent that, we work extensively with communities. We engage with communities, local people, the villagers, who are provided awareness and sensitization and engaged in protecting these water bodies through a cohesive mechanism. And the results are already evident in front of you. This picture, the last picture on the right bottom, is fixed for itself. So similarly, another important part is I mentioned about the growing groundwater challenge. So so obviously, due lack of permeable spaces, we have no, the aquifers, the groundwater aquifers are not getting recharged. So we require artificial recharge system. So this is a model that we have been promoting and propagating. It's a model developed at Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University in Hyderabad by one of our advisor professor, Professor Giridhar. So this is specially designed to address aquifer recharge, and it has yielded very positive result, and it has also been able to address things like groundwater contamination by when we infuse fresh water, uh, clean rainwater, and they are able to dilute the contamination at the ground at the groundwater aquifer. And as a result, we are seeing that contaminations, including heavy metals, at times uh, disappearing significantly. The another that I want to draw your attention to is the greening. So obviously, water bodies are important, but at the same time, like I mentioned, the forests are very, very important because of a number of reasons. So we are also working with a number of stakeholders to create city forest or green areas which were not green earlier or abundant in barren lands through a very popular Japanese technology method called Miyawaki. It was invented by Dr. Miyawaki, who's a well-known, highly regarded botanist from Japan, and who's no more, who passed away uh, very recently. So he developed this technology to grow natural forest in an anthropogenic way, and in a time which is unheard of, because here the growth rate of forest in Miyawaki forest is extremely high, where we are able to create full-fledged forests in almost 30 years, as opposed to natural forests taking 100 to more than 100 years time to mature. But here we can, by using this natural technology where there's no chemical or artificial intervention is done, we are able to see forests grow and mature in time span as small as 30 years. So we promote and propagate our vision and our understanding through writings, public speaking, lectures, community engagement, awareness drives, uh, and to promote that nature-based solutions are adopted by people, by policymakers, by our town planners, our local administrations, so that we are able to create a better environment for ourselves as well as for our future generations, and most importantly, for our our wild, you know, uh, faunal diversity of the planet. So that's about it. I want to conclude here, and this was my brief presentation in front of you, and I would be more than happy to interact with you or answer to your queries if you have any. So over to you.
So thank you, Dr. Pranab. Now we invite our audience to raise the questions. Those who want to speak on the camera or who want to speak just on the audio can do that. Or those who are comfortable in writing in chat box can do that as well. So questions, please. Or somebody wants to add something more from own experiences, or somebody wants to just comment and give a reflection. So it's all choices are open. Please.
We would like to really hear from our audience about their reflections and observations, and if they have an experience a similar kind of work in other parts of the world. So it will be a mutual learning for all of us.
In fact, due to our Ukrainian problems, so our audience has reduced drastically in last 1 week. Otherwise, our lectures were having always about 50 or 60 people present. So today we see only 27 or 28 was the maximum figure. Okay, please come forward. I see one way, my friend, Mr. Moveen. Please, are you hearing me? Just come and speak something. Hello. Actually, on the Zoom platform, there's also funny thing that some people just are seen online, but they are usually busy in some other works.
Uh, that is
Yes,
in a way it
but
allows
it
you to
happens.
multitask.
Yes, but it's also true for the physical meetings. No, people are just physically sitting there, but they are mentally somewhere else.
True.
So it can happen anywhere.
That's true.
So any friend, please. Today, either they have no, they have not understood the subject, or they have no interest or something. Maybe some other other factor. Okay, so let me begin with some interaction with you.
Right.
In fact, your subject is very interesting, and this you have also very well presented it in different segments, in in a sequential manner. So my observation in context of the urban areas, actually, I have not done much work in the urban areas, but very some work I have done in Jharkhand in the
Right.
year 2000, 2003 and
Right.
2004. Yeah, long ago. I had done
Right.
some work, and my interesting.
Your voice is breaking.
My voice or somebody else is intervening. Hello. Is my voice fine or somebody else
Yeah,
was?
I was not able to hear anything in between, but now it's okay.
Okay.
Right.
In fact, I think Mubin Khan was trying to speak something, but his mic was not. Yeah, he was.
Maybe.
Okay.
So you're mentioning about your work in
Yes,
Jharkhand.
I was mentioning my observation, very close observation, particularly in our countries. I'm just referring to the poor countries.
Right.
So here we see in general, the thumb rule is not a thumb rule, but it's a general observation that about 20% of the urban space is occupied by only, oh, no, sorry, I should say otherwise. About 80% of the urban space is occupied by merely 20% of the people living in the urban areas.
Mm.
And when I say this, then only 20% space is left for 80% of the population in the urban areas. this
Right.
is my very crucial observation, and I can substantiate this with my observations
Right.
with examples.
Right.
You go any town in Bangladesh, you go any town in Nepal, you go any town in Thailand. Even I have seen Bangkok and other cities too in Thailand. And also you go I mean you go any city in the third world, poor countries. So you will find this equation is true. 80% of the vital space of the city is occupied by only maximum 20%. So this is the unequal distribution of the space and obviously of the power as well, and the resources, relevant resources. So we can take the example of any city. You go, you see, you look at New Delhi where you live. This is the same.
True. True.
In
True.
Mumbai, I was shocked hearing just couple of days ago um, in some television program that 70% of the population in Mumbai is living in squatters and
Mm.
in slum areas, slum
True. True.
settlements.
True. True.
70% of the population is living so miserably. So I guess if you distribute in terms of the space, so this 70% population is living hardly in 5% of the space of
Right.
Mumbai. Hardly 5%.
Mm, mm, mm.
70%. So this is the horrible situation in the developing countries. So here all problems emanate the problems of living space, problems of the squatter settlements, problem of drinking water problems, the spread of the diseases, and so on and so forth. So poverty is a big indicator for all of these problems. So this is just one observation I did have. Another my observation, not only my observation, but I have worked very intensively on the water bodies, not particularly in urban areas, but in general, uh, especially the commons.
Right.
Commons mean the particularly the water bodies which are the community property or common property resources, and these common water bodies have actually used to be the lungs of the cities and towns once upon a time. But I think because of the greed of the land, the competition, land occupation by different people, including the administrations, including the government, including the industries, including the businesses. They have all unanimously have been hostile to the water bodies, especially. Nobody can be said that anybody has spared the water bodies. Nobody.
True.
Even the
True.
government has encroached the water bodies, and they have built their office complexes, etc.,
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the water body. Many water bodies, many wetlands in the urban areas are victims of all these people.
True.
And yes, we all know about the sewage problems, industrial water, wastewater pollution, and etc. They have recklessly destroyed the water bodies and the below spaces in the urban areas. This is well known, and I think, but in the European countries and the developed countries, the situation is completely different. Although they are also having similar problems, but this problem is not as big as it is in developing countries. So developing countries behavior, population population behavior, government's behavior, and all, all other people like industries, etc. They all are really hostile to these things. So, just last thing, interestingly, our journal, we are publishing 4 journals this moment,
Right.
and one of our journal, the Grassroots Journal of Natural Resources, is very well established.
Right.
Although the couple of other journals are also well progressing. So this journal was having very interesting couple of papers published already.
Right.
One interesting paper came from Ukraine, and it was fantastic paper written by one few professors in Melitopol. Melitopol is one city of Ukraine. So
Right.
very interesting paper how the concretization in the urban areas, especially the footpaths and other areas which are mostly concretized.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, so how these areas have affected the water percolation into the ground, number one, and causing the flood in the urban areas. So and moreover, how the various kind of the fauna are being affected by
Right.
this. Fauna, when we say, I mean, the study was on mollusks. The
Oh,
mollusks are very popular, and they remain in any moisture area wherever they
right.
find the moisture, find the mollusks. So
Right.
how the mollusks are being affected by this concretization is wonderful paper. Anyone interested to read this paper can visit our
I,
journal and can
yes,
find this paper there.
I would like to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This website is our website. Everybody knows, and you can also find from any of our website the link to the journal's website.
Right.
This is grassrootsjournals.org.
Yeah, I have gone through those, yeah, journals
So
already.
thank you for listening carefully. Now you please see the comments also if there is any question. Oh, no question. So anybody wants to speak something?
Thanks all. Good evening. This is Movin Khan. Thanks for the lecture. It was very good and knowledgeable. We appreciate your time.
I also
Okay, this is
appreciate your presence hearing, sir. Thank you,
okay.
because it's
So
already late.
this is just a compliment. Yes. Okay. So
Thank you,
any
sir.
question, Saroj? You want to say something, or some friend from Vietnam? I guess some friend from Vietnam, from Thailand also seen on the screen. I don't know. Somebody from Burma, Myanmar. So you like to add something, Oliver Pinto? Oliver Pinto. I'm just speaking with the names. Okay, and these are all familiar names. Any other Ukrainian friend? No. Okay. If nobody is coming forward, so let us close this session. Dr. Pranab, you want to say something? Something you want to add?
No, thank you very much for, first of all, the observations. This is a very important observations, and something uh, we have also experienced, having increasingly work in the urban areas. This is so true. I mean, you refer to the cities, how they are evenly unfortunately unequally distributed among people. And same goes with, if you look at the population of Asia and Africa together, it's about 78% of the world population are living in Asia and Africa, and that is considered to be the poorer regions of the world. So what you said, the city-wise, that is getting reflected at the continental level also. And so obviously our challenges are henceforth is different and far more difficult to address. So we are required to, you know, find solutions in a in a situation where resources are scarce. And the same goes with now the discussions around climate change adaptation, the Green Fund, uh, to be able to put together adaptations globally, is also as a reflection that, you know, these parts of the world are the worst sufferer. And where population is rise, they're more vulnerable, they're less resourced. So obviously we have a tough time ahead, but I'm sure with with increasing knowledge and sensitivity around these issues, and with uh, the world coming together, and that has something we've experienced in the COP27 also. At least the collectively the world has the member countries have agreed to come together and fight these challenging time, environmentally challenging time, so which is a positive sign. So thank you once again to our the host of the evening, Dr. Hasrat, and the Grassroots Institution, uh, for this wonderful opportunity to be able to come and speak to our audience about blue and green spaces and share my experience from India. So, which I'm glad, I'm hope people found it useful. And I would like to also thank No Momento Institute, which is which is co-hosting this series. So that's all from my end. Thank you once again, and namaste.
Okay, Dr. Pranab. I think yeah, we still have the time, not hurry anyway.
Yes, yes, of course, of course, I am
Yes.
very much around.
Otherwise, yes,
Yeah, if
because
there's,
yeah,
mm,
we were wishing and willing that other audience would have taken part in this discussion. So, what tomorrow is your climate change kind of the lecture, right?
that's right,
Tomorrow is exclusively on climate change.
right.
Hmm. Okay, so I think that will be more interesting for many other audiences, and they will join, I hope. And you have also captured some of the angles in this lecture also on the climate change. So, do you really feel that climate change is really an issue in the urban areas?
Uh, it is,
In the urban
it is,
context, I'm asking,
yeah,
not
it is,
tomorrow's lecture.
yeah, it is becoming an issue. The reason being, uh, we are scarce to, because we are not resilient anymore. We are losing our resilience to be able to fight these changes, whether it is climate change like, or any other change. That as long as we are not resilient, we are not fit enough to fight. Whether it is like, you know, if I am not in good health, why COVID-19? I'll not be able to fight off normal fever or viral fever also. So same thing is happening in our urban areas, and that exactly is the relevance of today's lecture today. That we are why these blue and green spaces are so important. So as long as we have ample of them and in healthy condition, so obviously we'll be able to uh, deal with these situations better. And and it in the urban context also. I'm going back to your question. In places like I originally come from Assam, which is in the northeastern part of India, and Assam, this our popular town, Guwahati increasingly facing issues like flash floods and other issues, and that is getting induced over a period of time because of changing climate, which is bringing these extreme weather events. And as the extreme weather events are increasing, we are facing frequent and unexpected rainfalls and this and that. So that is obviously making things difficult for people and also the flora and fauna of the region. And like I said, having said so, I would like to highlight that these problems are becoming difficult and because becoming more complicated because we are losing our blue and green spaces. So if we have them intact, so probably these challenges would not have been so complicated to handle. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think yes, that's right. In fact, the green surface or the blue surface, they are first of all they absorb the radiation. If it is a higher radiation, more temperature, then these water bodies and the green cover, whether it is a forest or the grass cover, so they actually first of all they absorb the radiation and they do not allow the uh, reflection back or the emission of the radiation into the air. So that is the science. So it is very easy to understand. So more water bodies you have in your towns or cities nearby, so um, regulated temperatures you can feel. You cannot feel very high temperatures.
Right.
Like in India, you see the popular cities. For example, Bhopal is one of such cities, and Udaipur in Rajasthan, where the entire Rajasthan is very hot and very warm,
Right.
whereas the Udaipur has a very low temperature compared to other cities.
Right.
So is Bhopal city. So the only the reason is that they have the very huge water wetlands,
True.
very huge water bodies. So these are the classical examples in your country. So similarly, if we see North, I mean the African countries, particularly North Africa, you see there are not many water bodies, including the rivers. Um, Although they have been very good because they have the resources, they are very good managing all those water bodies. So they also have similar kind of the environments and very regulated temperatures. So climate effect, if it is a warm temperature, then obviously it is it, 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 it is felt very badly if you do not have water bodies or other green cover.
True.
So this is just really very simple to understand. So thank you, Dr. Pranab. Now we will close this lecture. Thank you again. Tomorrow we will meet again with a
Looking forward to.
fresh topic, and fresh ideas and fresh energy. Okay.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.